What do you believe right now that's making you feel this way? And when you analyse it, you realise how irrational you can be at times.
Every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
It's not sales per se, but the outcome of it is because people get to know you, they get to see you.
But, what's the culture like at the business? What do we stand for, the values?
I've got to tick that box on my personal development programme I don't really want to be here.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated. Yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews and also through working with hundreds of owner managers over the last 10 years or so into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ESUS. And it's for owner managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer or by going to all the W's, esusgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk. So how do you link fronting a band, playing to an audience of over 5,000 people, with Singapore National Service, social housing in the UK, and founding a tech company for social good? Well, today I talk with Ranjit Ghoshal, who is the CEO and founder of Million Steps. And if you listen to the interview, he'll cover all of those links and explain what I'm talking about. He's clearly very passionate about what he does, and he lives by a phrase that his grandfather said to him when Ranjit was around about 7 years old, and he's remembered that all of these years and still lives by it. And I certainly want you to listen out for some of the mistakes that Ranjit admits he made at the start when setting up a tech company, for example, without a tech team, and some of the things that he would do differently. Many of the things that Ranjit points to are around the execution side of the business, and you might like to benchmark your execution habits against our scorecard, and the link for that is in the show notes. So let's go across and listen to Ranjit's story. Welcome back to ScaleUp Radio. Today, I welcome Ranjit Ghoshal, who is the founder and CEO of Million Steps. So, Ranjit, welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Yeah, great. And it's great to have you on. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So, Million Steps, what are you all about? What is that all about?
Well, we're building a platform that creates a level playing field, really, bringing businesses, communities, and people together in a living, breathing marketplace or ecosystem, but for health, well-being, and social good. I've got 14 years experience in non-profit sector, frontline, strategic, and on the board of 3 charities, mostly within social housing and homelessness prevention. And, if we were to say that the world is neither a fair or unfair place, we could probably agree that at least it's an unequal place, right?
Okay.
And I worked with a lot of community groups. You see the passion and the energy, even in middling-sized charities and businesses in communities. But when they tried to connect, it was always really, really tough, and so what we're trying to do here is create a platform where multiple goals are reached. On the one side, it's nonprofit fundraising, and on the other side, which is our big purpose, is embedding no BS, no fluff health and well-being principles within communities, because the upsells are awful out there.
The what are awful?
The upsells.
Right.
Yeah, the upsells and the is seaweed a new superfood, or should I eat chia seeds at night because they will help me sleep? And yeah, should I say this? Coconut oil is making a comeback, and and when the CDC and the NHS actually even alluded to the fact that it's as bad as beef dripping fat or lard. But
so we sign up to your platform, and then we get served all of these ads for coconut oil and chia seeds and all these, do we?
Yes, and I'm calling you from Panama with all the money I make from it. But no. In all seriousness, we've had some wonderful feedback from participants. Someone who took it 5 times in a row and signed up for a marathon. A 12-year-old whose mum wrote to us and said, thank you so much for doing this. You made my son a little hero, and you've also changed his mindset. And so these things are the little joys that we get. We're still a bootstrap startup, but we can see quite a lot of interesting things happening as well.
So it's a technology-based platform aimed at getting us all kind of on our feet around challenges, certain number of steps around challenges, and along the way raising funds for charities and other good causes that we believe in. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Good.
But one of the key things to remember is the connections between people, nonprofits, and businesses.
Okay.
Yep. A lot of businesses, when I speak to them, they're really good people who want to do stuff, but they're busy business owners. As one business owner said to me, and actually a charity said almost the same thing to me. They said, if I have a thought in my head that I want to do something, it usually dies very quickly, because my next thought is, right, I need to hold a team meeting. And then we need to decide a date. And everyone takes out their diary and says, busy that month. Yeah. And then go away again. And so these things all work together in a marketplace. Marketplace models are interesting because they can be done as, you could say, fixed events, but at the same time, they are also available when you want to or when you can. And this real 24/7 marketplace is what will make the difference.
So if I'm a user of the platform, what do I see? What does it look like? Let's make it.
Well, actually, we're at that stage now where, like I said, we're a small team. And we've run Million Steps a few times now to learn, and we've learned a lot. And we've been running them as fixed date events, and we're moving towards this idea that you can do it at any time. Now, you could argue that anyone can do anything at any time if they want, and for example, charities sometimes say, "Why don't you organize your own walk and invite your friends on it and raise money?" What I realized as through my journey was that looks, I'll do it tomorrow, maybe, yes, and then I'll go. Users need humans. In fact, Eric Ries in his book Lean Startup, quoting out, it's a funny book. It's quite hilarious when you read it after you've made all the mistakes. It's he said humans are really simple creatures in a sense. When a human wants to do something and they go, right, I want to do this, and they see let's just say myself, I think I need to lose some weight. What can I do? And you find the first thing you need to do is think the human needs perimeters, start, end, what are the rules? And once they understand that, they go, right, okay, I understand that. I want to do this, but do you provide me with everything? Right? And that means, hey, okay, you get the app, you get, training, learning, videos, audio, whatever the package is. The next thing that humans do is they sort of think, right, okay, I'm going to get all of that. That's fine. I know what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, because Eric Ries says, because we're herd animals, we often think, can I get some friends to join me on this? And that is a crucial thing as well, because we also know that when people join together to do it, they have a higher chance of succeeding. So that has to be in there. And then, early tests, when I was actually buying them quite expensive hardware to say, the process was really simple. Wow, 500 miles. Oh, wow. Okay, I think I can do that. It's only 10,000 steps a day, right? And that's easy. It's actually the length of it that's the perseverance, if you want to say. They'll go away and they'll come back and say, I was talking to some friends in the workplace and told them about this, and we've decided to do it as a group. Is that okay? Yep, okay. And then they'll go away and come back and say, look, there's 10 of us doing this. That's 5,000 miles, right? If we're going to do 5,000 miles, can we support a charity? And that's the final thing. Within the Western English-speaking world, that model is quite prevalent. We do a challenge, and then if it's real, it's something that is meaningful, we think, why don't we do it for and try to raise money for some charities? So that's where it's all come together as part of this platform. But why does it make a difference? If I had to say, oh, okay, I can organize a walk and then invite my friends, I still have to make sure they all turn up at a certain time on a certain day. What would the weather be like? Here, it doesn't matter where you are in the world.
Yeah. And what's your driving mission then? When will your job be done?
So you could say that I've been in the sector for over 20 years now. I used the phrase before. I know it sounds so cliche to say, you need taglines, you need mission statements. And right at the start, I said, I've just about, and I remember the moment I did it, I've just about had enough. Because working within communities, one of the things that's quite common is, let's hold a karaoke night. And yeah, went to quite a few. But I remember 3. It was just me, the director, the karaoke DJ, and 3 hours of karaoke hell. and I was in a band. I was the lead singer of a band, but I cannot do karaoke.
Right.
Improvise, right? And it doesn't work with karaoke. And on 2 of those occasions, at the end of it, they put up on the social media that they raised £50. After all that work, no one turns up. They raised £50, but what really got me was that actually £25 was mine because I felt so bad.
Right.
And all that energy, all that planning, putting up posters in Tesco's, they just don't have the tools.
Yeah.
I should say that whenever a nonprofit or business joins us, from end to end, social media, assets, captions, imagery, in formats, everything ready to go. A one-person charity, our biggest success story is a one-person charity raising £21,000 in 100 days.
Okay.
25% of their year's income.
So tell us about that. How did they go about doing that then?
Well, and this is another interesting thing. The businesses were saying, look, just give us something meaningful and inclusive, right? Not the usual suspects for the half marathons and the 10Ks. And please, no litter picking or standing in a supermarket with a bucket. That's okay, but it doesn't take all our needs and goals. And so, interestingly, over the last few years, the word no-brainer has come up 5 times. And I kid you not, the 5th one was about a month ago. And I understood this because when I sat as a trustee of the charities, I would talk to businesses and you could see their frustration, but the frustration was more a sense of, we don't mind doing something, but we don't really want to organize it as well. And if we do something, let it be meaningful, right? And so that's one side. Now, on the nonprofit side, everyone was saying, we wish we had what they have. And that they usually means the top 1%. Okay. And yeah, the big charities are big. That's, as I said, the world's neither fair nor unfair. It's just the way it is. And they have the scale available, and the resources available. Now, the one thing that was really clear was they said, we wish we had something to give to the busy business owners. They had understood that asking a business to do all of it was probably, well, maybe it's been flogging a dead horse for a while. But how that small charity did it was, I think it gave him the confidence to go out to businesses that he probably would never have approached before to say, can you give me 30 staff? Will they do 1 million steps each and raise money for me? And all you have to do is this, and I'll help you on the journey. Now, for the business owner, that means, hey, wait a minute. So I don't need to speak to HR. These are actually the lines that have come through over the years. I don't have to speak to HR. I don't need to organize it. I can clearly demonstrate CSR, corporate social responsibility. I can also say that we have put 30 staff through a health and well-being program in which they learned all these things and walked, a few thousand miles. And it made it easy to justify, especially, our price point is very low because we don't exactly care if you're the biggest or smallest organization. It's at a price point which, as the business owner says, that's a bit of a no-brainer. So what he started to do was, for one person charity approaching a nuclear power plant is a big thing, right? Yeah. And yes, so they got their social impact managers to try it, and then they decided to roll one out. But with the one at that event, they also went out to a gym, and they said to the gym, "Would you do this and get your members to just sign up?" And they did. And so the gym owner led about, I think, 70 people on a 100-day journey. And so that was also an interesting thing for us to see, because the gym owner could engage with his members. And what he was doing was saying, anyone who does X number of steps today, you get a free smoothie, or you get a free one-to-one with me. So that whole engagement cycle suddenly exploded, rather than it was outside of the gym. They were all on leaderboards and they could follow each other as well.
Great. So do you find that you generally go via the not-for-profit, or do you go and then that feeds into the businesses, or do you go via the businesses now normally? What's the main route for you?
It's an interesting thing. We don't advertise because we like I said, we're bootstrapped, and we are still building out parts of it. We've raised £120,000 for nonprofits, and that's from about 700 people. Okay. 700 fundraisers. We've had over 1,000 participants who have walked actually. Well, certainly over 1 billion steps, which is 20 times the planet. Yeah. So we don't advertise. People find us. I always ask how. Quite often it's we typed in what is it to do 1 million steps, and we're very lucky. We're coming in quite high on Google search. And others have spoken to another charity or business, and they've then spoken to us about it. And if it's the right time for them and the right, because they're fixed dates, they'll sign up. So at this point in time, I would say that charities may sign up, they'll launch. If they can get a business, they'll bring a business on. And then the flip side is if business signs up, they may have a charity in mind, or quite often, and this is also an interesting thing, going back to, these are good people trying to do good things. But I'm a busy business owner. Engaging with another organization might be difficult. So they often ask me if I have what causes do I support, and mine are within substance misuse, homelessness, and suicide prevention, and so if I have one that's ready to go, then they'll hook up with them, and that's an interesting thing there. At first, it used to prompt a question: don't they have a cause they believe in? When I dug down deeper, again, it went down to the same thing. And we actually have one of our earliest businesses that signed up. Actually, they really wanted to support a cause. They wanted the staff to decide which one. It boiled down to two in the end. No one could decide. So they decided that they'll just do the challenge and people could fundraise wherever they wanted elsewhere. And why? Because it's always faster and easier, to have the ability to connect.
Very good. And so, how do the economics work for you then? How do you keep food on the table?
Feels like I beg, borrow, and steal, but no. At the moment, what we have helps just keep us moving forward. And one of the things that is important to me, because it's a tough journey, is the joy that I get knowing that we are doing something that may have been beyond what a nonprofit or business would have achieved, whether in saving resources or raising funds. But our model is very hybrid. We are heading towards a interesting part of the business model. But we see ourselves as an event at the moment, no different than, say, a 10K or Great North Run. The nonprofits pay us to onboard. What they get is, landing pages, the assets, as I mentioned. We make sure we give them free codes, and those codes are meant to give to their strongest supporters. It's a model that is very close to nonprofits who might buy tickets for the London Marathon or Great North Run, and then ask people to apply for them. So now, what we do is it's our current pricing, and we give between 30 to 50 depending on the organization. But my purpose right at the start was nonprofits work generally on a 3 times ROI. So if a ticket costs £100, they would hope to get 300 back, their minimum fundraise. Now, most of ours get 6, 8, 10, is around the 8 times, 10 times ROI. The outliers, 15, 10, 15, 20, and the charity that I mentioned before, it was 60 times ROI.
Gosh, right. Yeah.
So yeah, and so that is the reason why we give the entry places is I always said, can we break that ROI model? But break it without them having to use many of the resources, which many of them actually don't have at all. They don't have a social media manager. They don't have someone who can do their graphics for them. What is the caption? How do we attract people? So it's all done for them. Now, the flip side is, not flip side, is that we believe that the package is big enough currently that it's actually cheaper to, in price wise, at the moment we're £15 for a digital event, and $19.99 you actually get a Bluetooth hardware pedometer as well, which is integrated to the app. And we know that, buying a 5-week yoga program with this 6 videos might cost you £30 anyway. So we provide, strength and conditioning videos. We provide audio tracks for mindfulness. We teach people about the introduction to leading a mindful life, which is I'm very, very clear about, because it's what John Kabat-Zinn, the founder of modern mindfulness, there are certain principles to leading a mindful life. Meditation only forms a small part of it. If you live the principles and you use the meditation to ground yourself at points of the day. But the package is big enough, and because people can connect with friends and have all this material, they pay £15 for the digital version or $19.99 to get a hardware, a step tracker as well. And because we have the fundraising platform in, we take percentage of that, 5% of the fundraising. That part is also very interesting because one of the biggest pain points from my work, from speaking to fundraising managers and organizations, is the let's just say it's the Great North Run. A nonprofit has to buy tickets up front. This is risk.
Yep.
The second thing is they cost a lot of money. And nonprofits also pay an admin fee up front. I believe this year's Great North Run might be £62 per ticket, plus £20 admin fee on top of it. So then they have to ask for that fundraising level. Now, the circle starts narrowing when you think how many people can do a half marathon, is willing to travel all the way up to the north of England, and overnight stays and the training, and it's starting to narrow. I remember reading somewhere that maybe only 5% of the population can do a half marathon, and then you have to hope that they support you. But when they say yes, you then have to say, hey, do you mind setting up a fundraising page? Have you set up your fundraising page? We still haven't heard back from you. And I've heard the stories that I know of and even heard of in the last 2 years are very, very stressful. People will just say, sorry, I changed my mind. I'm not well. Oh, yeah, I've set up on another page. Why didn't you set up on the page that we told you to? Well, actually, this is a true story. Actually, I've decided that I'm going to support 3 charities, and I'm still going to raise £500, but it's going to be split between 3 charities. Is that okay?
Yeah.
With the director saying, "You took our ticket," and he's. And I couldn't even say no to him. So you see, humans, right? You just So with us, it's integrated in as well. So the way we saw it was, if everyone pays a little bit, and everyone gets their value, their own particular value, saves on resources, it all adds up.
Great.
Everyone can succeed. So.
Okay. So what did get you into this? When did you set up Million Steps?
God, the idea alone was probably 10 years ago, I think, when I first came up with this idea. I was still working in housing then. But it's not so much about when I set up Million Steps or why I said, it's to do with why. It's something that's always been there in me. I've thought about why I chose the career that I've chosen. Hey, I'll be honest, I just wanted to be a rock star from the age of 11 years old.
Didn't we all? Yeah, rock star or a Formula One driver or.
I know, I never learned to drive, so that would have been difficult. But but the rock star thing, I love my folks, but culturally and who my dad was and things, music was a big no-no. And yep. So, and especially, I grew up in Singapore. I should have said that.
Okay. Yeah.
Long hair or rock music was big drugs, and that's very bad in a country like Singapore. But I did secretly form a band and was in a band and played in front of the final gig really was because Singapore's got national service as well, so 2.5 years in the army. So the band had to split up because of that. But just before that, we played in front of 5,000 people at the arts festival that Singapore had. So I'm very proud of that. But the side of social good, I put it down to when I was about 12, I read a lot. And around 11, 12 years old, I read fantastic book. If anyone gets I'm sure you can get a copy on Amazon. It's The Tragedy of Puddinghead Wilson by Mark Twain. It's a fascinating book about class, society, slavery, the relationships between slave owners but there was one line that I remember that I took from that book, and you've got to forgive me, let me get this right. Let us so live that when we come to die, even the undertaker will be sorry. And that damn line has haunted me my whole life.
Yeah.
And everything I do, I realize that I have a choice, and that choice has consequences. And I guess it has driven me through to do the work that I do.
Okay. Yeah, no, amazing. And what does success look like for you? I mean, if you're looking 5 years down the line, maybe, or even further, but what does success look like for you?
I will say that this whole craziness started. I got so frustrated, and I said, "God, can one person do something that will raise $100 million for social good in 5 years?" And I sat down, I looked at that number, and I thought, how would we do this? Right? What would be the real social impact? Anyway, I think I said that this model is culturally acceptable in the English-speaking nations.
Yes.
So over 5 years, divided by about 10 countries, 1 million people, each one raising just $100, that's 100 million. But really, the real big social impact is, can we make each one of these people ambassadors? Because the feedback we've got has been, you know what, you're right. Because some of the things, our critical statements are time, repetition, and consistency are your friends. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There's no failure. Yeah. And the other one is if you are the hero of this story, everything you need is already in you, in your house and just outside your front door. One from my granddad, who passed when he was, they don't really know, 100 or 101. He was there at the fall of Singapore, British Forces, Constabulary. He used to say every day, I must have been 7, 8 years old, and I remember asking him, "Granddad, what's your New Year's resolution?" And he just looked at me with this wise look, and he said, every day is a New Year's Day if you want to start something good. And I do remember for some reason thinking, what the? No, 1 New Year's Day is on 1st of January, right? You can't even give me a simple answer. And then later on when I grew up, or, naturally thought, yeah, every day is a New Year's Day if you want to start something good. And the other principles are, some of it's from mindfulness. Look at world with the awe of a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every moment's learning. And another one is there is no enlightenment outside of daily life, because everything is is in front of you, and so these principles, along the fact that time, repetition, and consistency are your friends, you do eventually reach a point where you're going, you know what, I think I can see a difference. Sometimes the difference is so subtle that when we speak to users, and users who will say, yeah, I'll talk to you about it. And I've asked, if you were to tell me, did you notice a change in you at all? And they sometimes find it hard to describe, but you hear little points that fascinate me. One lady said, I've lived in this area for years, and actually I didn't know my neighbors. Now I know all of them, and because every day I walked, and one lady said, in her own way, it was her mindfulness. We were talking, she said, I don't know it. She said, I tell you what, it gave me more time with God.
All right.
Yeah, we had a rugby player, a famous one, who took it for one of the charities, and in the conversation that the charity did a video which they put out, and they were asking, and he said a couple of things. He said, I'm sitting down and thinking about it. Even as a professional sports person, I don't think I would have done 500 miles in 100 days, right? Because it's start, stop, a lot hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that got me was he said, I also didn't realize how little time I spent with my children, because his children are now going for walks with him.
Right.
Yeah. One lady said, I never thought that, I love this one actually. She said, I never thought that I would like walking in the rain. Now I can't get enough of it. She said, but the real miracle is my husband's joining me on walks, even when it's raining. So these are little things, right? A guy who said, we've forgotten how close the supermarket was. We just got into the car all the time.
Yeah.
Now we walk there. Yeah. So 100 days is great. It's, I'm not saying, I failed my first two. I'll put my hands up and say that. I failed my first two. And I realized that I needed to do it with someone. And I then finished it on day 65. But I can be quite certain to say that it was because of my learning from the first two. Mm-hmm. I learned what worked and what didn't. And suddenly, when everything clicked together, I did it in 65 days. And my God, I felt so good at the end of it. I really, we try not to sell it because everyone gets something from it. Okay. Some people lose weight.
So tell me about some of the challenges that you faced along the way, because you've obviously bootstrapped. You're building a technology platform, trying to get it out there and you're trying to solve this marketplace challenge as well of having to have both sides of the marketplace all together. So take us about some of those challenges then from when you started to now.
Ranjit doesn't do things in small ways. At some point, Ranjit thought that transitioning from being in social housing to being a tech founder was, hey, why not, right?
Yeah.
So that was my first difficulty, in a sense. One highlight of this journey was we were the first, and I think maybe still the only startup to have been chosen for Google Launchpad in London. And I didn't have a team. I had a piece of paper with an idea. I arrived there thinking, I had to bring some people along in order to go there. They said, look, we'd really like you to be here, but you should try and bring maybe some tech people with you. So I paid for 2 people to come with me to London for a week, and we went there in all of Google Launchpad. It was a very interesting. I asked why I was there, because most of the people there had been funded or had brought a team. And they said one thing. They said, when we looked at this, we thought you have quite a unique B2B to B2C model.
Right.
And i.e. market 3 to 4 way marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see the impact that this can make if you pull it off.
Yeah.
Your big problem is that you're a non-tech founder. And we can tell that those 2 guys are probably not your team. But I was so naive that I actually said, can you give me some tips or things I should look out for? And they looked at me, startled, I think, at my innocence.
Yeah.
And the head of Google Launchpad said, I don't think there is a piece of string long enough. And I remember my little heart crushing a little bit and thinking, no, they probably say this to everyone. But that was one of the biggest problems, who to trust. And I lost a lot of money. And I also know a lot of people who've been in my shoes. We're talking tens of thousands of my parents' pension fund.
And where did that go into developers, or where did that?
That really nothing happened at the end. I mean, you see waves of this stuff coming along. Back then, it was you need a technical specification document. Paid $5,000 for one of those, not realizing that you can't take it anywhere else. I learned from developers who were kind about how things were working out. Once or twice, I was asked to. Should I say this? I'm going to say something. Because things are stalling, every moment, as I said, is a learning experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when things aren't happening, you suddenly realize, am I actually learning anything here? Because this is just going around in circles, and can't seem to get past this first stage. And then one day I got an email asking me to speak to a lady. And it said in the email that, can you speak to this lady? She has this idea XXX, and we believe she's had the same journey as you. And at first I thought, oh, poor thing, gosh, okay. I sat back and I thought, oh my God, I've become an expert. I've become an expert in terrible journeys. And someone's emailed me for this expertise. How amazing. So that went on for 2 years. I mean, in 2 years, I will be honest and say that my parents thought I had a secret gambling habit, because my dad said, it is impossible for one person to blow that much money. What are you doing?
Goodness me. So what would you do? What would you do differently next time?
I'm in a few groups at the moment. And some people with great ideas. Sometimes they have 1, 2, 3 people, but they don't have a tech person there.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear the conversations. They're saying, "Oh, we spoke to so and so. They said they can do it to this. We have to just give, 10,000, 20,000 up front as a deposit," and I just hear it all. It was everything that I heard before.
Yeah, it's
hard to tell someone to be careful or don't do it, because maybe they've got someone who's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I can't be the person to make them paranoid. But having someone to believe in the vision. So for me, over the 2 years where I lost all that money, and I will say it was over 100,000.
Wow.
I know a lady who did 120.
So you're not the worst. Gosh, 100,000. Yep.
Yep. And you know, I knew this was even wrong because even at Google, we figured out, as I said, this isn't rocket science. Yep. We are social innovation. We are connecting dots. We're not reinventing the wheel or coming up with some really, you know, fancy new technology. And you know, I was told to meet someone, except they lived in Bulgaria. And over 2 years, every time something failed, they said, "You've got to meet this guy. He's really great." I'm like, how am I supposed to even work with someone overseas when I can't get it right, you know, in right? Where I can go to a meeting. Eventually, after I'd blown it all, and I said, "All right, introduce me to this guy." He has been my chief technical officer for the last 3 years because he believed in it.
Great.
But, you know, bootstrapped and part-time on that side, you know, it's a big project, but I cannot thank him enough. Truly, I mean, we're like an odd couple. For every 1,000 words I speak, I might get one out of him.
So he's based in Bulgaria, is he? Yeah. Okay. Great.
And we've never met in real life.
Yeah.
We've only ever spoken on cam. But he understands. If I say stuff, he absorbs it, and he understands what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Which is the important thing.
Okay.
I know a few people, a Ukrainian organization, a Polish one. These are great agencies. And I've seen some of the work they've done, and it's really, really nice. Good pricing, everything's great. But inherently, belief, because otherwise it's project work.
Yeah.
And belief is really important. I think we both share that vision, that if we can do this, and we can push it out there. We're not saying we've got the pricing right. We're not saying that we've got the perfect solution. Maybe there won't ever be one, but we do know what we can see. One of the things that I took, I feel bad. It's because we got commission and, you know, this admin fees, but nothing's up front. They succeed, we succeed.
Yeah.
And I remember one organization where, you know, they raised relatively good sum, and it was only a couple £100. We don't, you know, and I said, I feel really bad, but this is the admin fee and the commission. And so, why do you feel bad? But, well, you know, is it, funnily enough, they said, you won't believe it, wait for it, said, I couldn't even organize a karaoke night for this. I said, wow, that's perfect.
Yes, I'll tell you a funny story. Yeah. Yeah, good. All right. So, what? Any other? So some great lessons there about when we're starting and really needing to be careful about how we're spending our money on developers. Any other lessons or milestones that have come along the way?
If I want to actually, you know, there's a lot that I've had to learn myself. There's a lot of ways you can burn money. There's a lot of people who will tell you a lot of things about how you need to build your tribe, how you need to do social media, the smart guys. And I hang out a lot with some groups that are based out in Singapore, in Vietnam. This a lot of them are agency people, but they're freelancers. One of the things I've learned is that everyone keeps mentioning the big names. Look, I've got nothing against them. I'm just going to mention them: MailChimp, HubSpot, these Active Campaign. That's fine. Yeah, but they cost a lot of money. The guys that I hang out with, a lot of them are, they buy lifetime deals. So you're betting on a product at an early stage, and you hope that they blow up and become great. And the stuff out there. When I go to a session that someone says, "Oh, this is social media. You need to find where your target market." I remember this meme which I wish I had kept. It's a meme with a guy who's trying to do all these calculations in my personas and all this stuff, and he's tearing his hair out. And there's a next guy reading. On the flip side is a guy, and it says the first guy, it says $0 because he's still trying to figure out. The second guy is sat there reading a magazine and has a cup of coffee, and it's saying $100,000 earned, right? And it just says blasted everywhere. Because when they say blasted everywhere, what they don't mean is just throw everything out there. The smart guys, they know exactly the tools to use so that when that first person clicks onto an ad or a post, they are never let go. Not in a horrible way where you're upselling or stuff. It's that even if they say no, the tools are in place, whether it's abandoned cart. Can we bring you back and spin the wheel and see? Spin the wheel could be, yep, well, you didn't get a discount to place, but hey, how about a family pack of, 50% off? And so no matter what, the person comes back, and that viral loop, even after they finish the sale, here's a link, invite 3 friends, and you get pro membership for a year, something that is better, right? That doesn't cost you much. And these guys, once they set up these, I hate to use the word funnels, but systems, sometimes they just run. And then whilst one is running, you're launching the next one, you're launching the next one, you're launching the next one. And so where I learned was, try to learn to use some of the tools. Okay. Canva is your friend.
Yeah.
Your design, because you know the emotion you're looking for. I had to learn.
So Canva, any other particular tools that you would recommend?
I'm going to shout out a company called Viral Loops.
Okay.
I think they are. There's also a company called Light Funnels. I know people who've said their website's pretty much redundant because all you need is a button that says buy. Mm-hmm. Actually, as soon as the person clicks that, it goes onto a landing page and a full funnel system with payments and everything sorted out. And you build that individually on a map, and then run that. Mm-hmm. The next one. Set up the next one. So yeah, there's some great companies out there. Good. ScaleUp for ad management, VBout for VBout's like Active Campaign. And they're doing great things.
Brilliant. Good. So a couple of quick fire questions on there. That was the first one of those. In terms of if you were to go back to your younger self, what would you advise yourself?
Don't give up rock music.
Don't give up rock music. Brilliant. Love it. Any books or well, you've already mentioned the tragedy of Funhead Wilson by Mark Twain and Eric Ries' Lean Startup. Any other books or podcasts or resources that you'd recommend?
Do you know what? I wish I knew the full title of it. It's a great book about whales, not the country where I'm based, but the big, very large fish. And it's called Leviathan.
Okay.
And it won the Samuel Johnson Prize. It is the most magical book that it's one man's journey to understand whales. And he's weaved it within the history of whaling, but also Moby Dick.
Okay, great.
And it's a beautiful book, and I give that book out a few times a year.
Lovely. Well, we'll put that in there. We'll look it up and put that in the show notes. I'm not familiar with that one. And in terms of finding customers, what's your most successful approach or tactic for finding new customers?
It's interesting. For models like ours, where you could say we're lucky, right? Because businesses want to do something for their staff. So and non-profits want to have strong supporters. We're not a magic bullet. We build a marquee, and they still need to bring their people in.
Mm-hmm.
But the building of the marquee is what it makes it simple and smooth. Now, in terms of identifying, I think because of our model, I tend to identify people I think who are also no BS, no fluff.
Right.
People who really believe in impact. And there's a lot of it out there, which is, I guess someone once said, well, it's better than nothing. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's better than nothing. But LinkedIn is great to find someone, engage with them. I see someone that I think I like what they just said, and I will make a quick comment to say why I think so, to thank them,
Great.
And say, just send you a connection. Let's have a chat.
Perfect. So,
And for any startup, wherever you are, unless your networks are big, you start building those networks. And if they believe in you and your mission, and they can tell that you're authentic, people will help.
Brilliant. Ranjit, thank you very much indeed. If people would like to find out more about you or Million Steps, what's the best way for them to do that? How can they reach out to you?
Well, you can go straight to millionsteps.com, or you could write to us at support@millionsteps.com or info@millionsteps.com. I'm happy to say hello. And if any of your listeners out there are, businesses or nonprofits, I'm no salesperson. I'll talk to you and find out how best I can help you, because, as I said, I've got that North Star.
Yeah,
I want to get there, and we just don't know who we can help along the way. And it's a journey.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Ranjit, thank you very much indeed for being my guest on ScaleUp Radio today.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for having me. Cheers now.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.